All right. Well, good evening to everyone. It is Monday evening and it is October 23rd, 2023, around 7 o'clock Eastern time. So we're all getting excited because that means it's time for ACIM Talks with Reverend Jim. So thank you everyone for joining me. Is there anything any of you like to share before we go on? Well, I thought maybe tonight we could kind of, I don't know, it's been another busy week on the world stage, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
And so I was thinking maybe we just sneak out a little time. What is it? Lesson 192. Ooh, oh my God. It's not, is it 192? Could be 182. At any rate, it says something about let's be still an instant and go home. So I'll get better with remembering those workbook lesson numbers. But I thought maybe a good way to start out is to let's just steal a few minutes here to relax and recharge our batteries. So if it's okay with you, I just brought some music in, one of my favorites. It's called Space Ambient Mix. Where did that title come from? What is ambient music? I don't know how it even got into my library, but I love it. So I thought I'd bring that for us to listen to for a few moments. Maybe let's do 8 or 10 minutes of space ambient mix and see how we're feeling here.
That was lovely.
Yeah. Could you hear it okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good deal. It's one of my favorites. It always helps me out when either I want to meditate or just when I need to chill. And so I'm glad that you liked it as well. Um, without further ado, if you like, we can jump back into our study of Charles Anderson. We were on page 15. We still got a ways to go, but I think we're enjoying it. And by the way, we don't have to finish all of it. So if it's not holding our collective interest, there are a lot of choices, okay? So with your permission, I'll put it back up on the screen and we will get started here. Share screen, 12 steps, and I'll make it bigger. Let's see how big that is. That may be too big, I don't know. Let's see, there's page 14. Do you remember what he was talking about in the first paragraph before we move on?
Nope.
Well, he was talking about Bill Wilson being one of the prime examples of the state that being addicted puts you in, and how he had Bill Wilson, okay, he's the founder of AA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Charles Anderson, master teacher, although his expertise per se was A Course in Miracles, was also an AA member and had a very difficult time with addiction. And so what both of them are examples of how you come to this dark night of the soul. Y'all know about that, of course, right? It's like, oh, I'm at my wit's end. And yet, for both and for all, they evolve into what? Father, it goes from dark night of the soul to Father, why hast thou forsaken me? To Father, into thy hands I commit my spirit. And isn't that kind of the cycle of the dark night of the soul? And out of the darkest of nights comes the brightest light. What's that thing I always say? Out of crash and burn comes phoenix rising. Maybe another way to say it. So reaching their darkest point was really, I would say, a enormous blessing, wasn't it?
Yeah, I've recently heard that we shouldn't be calling it the dark night of the soul. It's really the dark night of the ego. And I love that.
Yeah, well said. And that seems to be a part of a lot of people's experience as they move toward enlightenment. So it's a fairly common phenomenon. But what's really going on there to me, I would call it surrender.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's from I have no choice, but to surrender. And you think it's the worst thing, it turns out to be the best thing. So that's what I got out of the previous paragraph. Are we okay with where we are?
Yeah, thanks for summarizing it.
Okay, so he's talking about how Bill Wilson had that experience. And now we're ready for readers to start on the first full paragraph on page 15. Excuse me for rambling here. So I have Sherilyn as reader 1, and then Ron is 2, Dee is 3, Kathleen 4, Joan 5, and I'll be reader 6 tonight, okay?
Jim, I would like to opt out on the reading because
Okay.
I'm gonna have to be muted much of the time.
Ah, all right, no problemo. So we can easily adapt. So Ron, you're number 1, Mr. Cohen, and Dee is number 2, Kathleen number 3, and Joan is number 4, and I'll bring up the rear with number 5. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right, we're throwing you right in there, Ron.
That's okay.
Good deal.
It is important to remember that the programs are not a perceptual admission of the necessity for some sort of bottoming out. They are the natural, inevitable result of the surrender itself. They are both the cause and the effect. Can you hear this? In any prayer, the cause and the effect are actually simultaneous. The teaching of the Course is you literally cannot get more than you are asking for, but you will indeed get what you are asking for. Do you see this? So that the broader your range of surrender, the more mentally and emotionally edifying will be the simultaneously corrective response of the Holy Spirit. There is nothing to deny your own intentions because nothing is outside of you. If you ask for the peace of God and truly desire it, you will have the peace of God because the peace of God is what you are.
Thank you. What say ye? What is this about perceptual admission? It is important to remember that the programs are not a perceptual admission of the necessity for some sort of bottoming out. But there's something else he goes on to say. But any comments on perceptual admission? Miss Newman, you look like you're raring to go on that.
No, I'm not raring to go. I don't know what he means by perceptual admission.
All right. So you had a very bright question mark on your face.
So.
For knowledge.
So is that saying the seeming reason? Or
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what he's saying.
It's you know, you can I think what it's saying is perceptual admission is you can admit that you have a problem, but until you surrender to the problem, then you can't, then there's a difference to admitting it, and there's a difference to between surrendering. And surrendering is would be kind of like enveloping enveloping the situation and knowing that you have a problem.
Thank
I
you.
feel
That's
on
great.
that. This is not a technique, I think he's saying.
Yeah.
This is natural.
Right.
It's not a strategy that must be employed. It is simply something that must be done.
Yeah.
It can't go to this level until I quit trying to manage it.
Right.
So even the technique of admission that my life is unmanageable, let's talk. That's theory.
Right.
That's strategic.
Right.
I think he's saying you actually have to surrender.
Right.
And then these things will happen because I did this.
Yeah. It's like you have to be the surrender.
So they are the natural, inevitable results of the surrender itself. They are both cause and the effect. What is they? You said it before. They are natural. What's they?
The programs.
Yeah, I'm thinking so.
Yeah.
What do y'all follow what I'm trying to understand here? You'd have to refer to previous sentences, I think, to understand what the pronoun they is talking about. So I agree with Joan.
Well, yeah, because if you go to the first sentence, it's important to remember that the programs.
Yes. So if I said the programs are not a perceptual admission, the programs are the natural, inevitable results of surrender. Right?
Right.
The programs are both the cause and the effect. And he says, as he does quite often to his audience, he says, can you hear this? Is he saying, do you understand what I'm saying? And do we? Well, we okay so far?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
In any prayer, the cause and the effect are actually simultaneous. Reminds me of Tuesday night now and the song of prayer. What we have to do, I think he's saying, let's talk about it. When in true prayer, I don't act like I'm letting go. I have to let go. It's not a technique. It's an actual doing. And I have to just get out of the way, right? So somebody else say something. They are both cause and the effect. I'm sorry, in any prayer, the cause and effect are actually simultaneous. The teaching of the course is you literally cannot get more than you are asking for, but you will indeed get what you are asking for. What's the distinction? He's saying you can't get more than you're asking for?
Kind of like you have to be on the same frequency. It's like if you look at it energetically, it's like you can't you can't have frequency 7 and frequency 6 come together. You have to both be on frequency 7 to be able to absorb what the frequency is giving you. If you're
Right.
not ready, if you're not ready to receive frequency 7, then you're not going to be able to receive it. But if you're ready to receive what is being presented, then you will receive it.
What if you're at frequency 4? Can I get frequency 4 worth?
Yeah. If you're, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be in balance with what you have to be open to receive and in balance in as to what is coming at you or
So
what
the
you're
more
absorbing.
open I am, the more I'll receive. If
Yes.
I could be completely open, I received the whole thing, right?
Yes.
But I will, in a reciprocal relationship, receive what I'm asking for, but not more than I'm asking for. Help me out here. I don't want to puzzle and with this. What do you think?
I guess it goes along with the willingness that the course talks
Right.
about.
Right.
I have to be willing.
Right.
I can only give you as much as you are willing to erase yourself. But if you are praying only, what comes in depends on what you let in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still in charge of how it works for me. And now we're back to free will.
Mm-hmm.
So what we let in would be what we're capable of letting in.
Yes, that's how I'm reading it as well. Yep. So let's see. So the broader your range of surrender, the more mentally and emotionally edifying will be the simultaneously corrective response of the Holy Spirit. There is nothing to deny your own intentions because nothing is outside of you. If you ask for the peace of God and truly desire it, you will have the peace of God because the peace of God is what you are. Can somebody connect those dots for me? I think I got it, but I don't know. Do you see, how do you see that last part? There is nothing to deny your own intentions because nothing is outside of you and the rest. How are you interpreting that?
I think the words truly desire are very important. I have to have a sincere interest and not just be wearing the face of innocence and pretending that I want, that, I can't be pretending.
Yeah.
It has to be a deep desire.
You have to absolutely do it.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of variables leading up to absolute, and it will work, but only as good as you would like it to.
I don't know if it has to be absolute because the course talks about a little willingness, but I do think it has to be sincere.
And I think we're in agreement. I'm just saying, if it works to the extent that you truly desire it, if you desired it absolutely, how would it work then?
And
What?
right there, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dee.
I don't know that I would even know what that desiring is because I'm not there yet. So I know what I don't have. I don't, like I said, I'm go more with that little willingness that the course talks about. Something is appealing to me. I'm clueless what it even is, really. I'm not there.
Correct.
So
And I think that sentence, if you ask for the peace of God and truly desire it, you will have the peace of God because the peace of God is what you are. I think that's describing surrender.
mhm.
Help me with complete surrender versus partial.
Well, I think if you,
You're saying
partial surrender is the ego still in there telling you what to do. Complete surrender is the trust that complete surrender is trusting in the peace of God and knowing that the peace of God, you are the peace of God.
Does that mean if I don't trust it completely, I won't have any peace at all?
No, because it's part of the process.
All right. So I'm trying to pull this together, Dee, by saying a little willingness will give you great rewards.
Yes.
Yes. And what popped into my mind is somewhere something said, all you need is a little crack for the light to come through.
Mm-hmm.
And that crack is compelling enough that you might try it again.
Right, exactly.
I had a little willingness and I saw some extraordinary thing that made me say, wow, if I start really dependent on this, it would return amazing things. But we'll start with where I am, where I can see that little glimmer of light simply in response to my little willingness. So if I work on my willingness, what are the possibilities with this? Like, what if I were totally willing with no exceptions? What would it be like for me to totally surrender to this thing? I thought that was, and why is it that if I truly desire it, I'll have the peace of God? Why is that? If I truly desire it, I'll have the peace of God. He already said it. It's not like I have to do anything, because the peace of God is what you are. So I don't have to do anything. The action is undo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Undo, not do, undo. Quite a distinction. You see how we get all revved up over
And you can relate that to the slogan, let go and let God.
all of this stuff can be collapsed into what Jesus says so many times. This is a very simple course.
Mm-hmm.
You could actually just read the first page and close the book. But the ego is strong in that one. So I'm going to show you 1,200 pages to elaborate on. If you were willing, you could have got it on page 1, but you guys, especially you, Jim, you put up a lot of interference. So I'm going to have to really show you and demonstrate in 1,200 pages to help you open the door because the ego is strong in that one. You know, that Reverend Jim. Oh God, this guy's got an issue. Comments, everyone. All right, Joan.
It's reminding me of love, which doesn't force. So as much as we're willing to take in.
Yes. You will, and we saw this also, I think, when we were in psychotherapy, and the idea is you won't get more, you'll always have what you need, but not more than you need. You'll have what you need, because I don't want to set you up for failure. Here, take this, and I'm working on some stuff for you in linear time. But it's all going to come together. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Okay, I don't want to give you too much too fast, because your ego will take it and run with it. Let me help you manage your power here. Comments? All right. So I think we're at first paragraph on page 16. And we're up to D. You're our next reader, please.
Okay. So the first time that you hear this message, and the second time, and the 10th, and the 20th time, and the 100th time, and how it works at meetings, or how it works in A Course in Miracles groups, will dictate the terms under which you are absolutely unqualifyingly willing to accept that you have a very serious authority problem in regard to the making of yourself and the necessity and determination to die.
Well,
that's quite the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
You want to talk or finish it first, maybe?
Yeah, and the relief that you feel when you come into a group of this nature is not expressible. But those of you who have been to what we would term good, quote unquote, good meetings, where there is no therapy, just a mutual recognition, can sense the feeling of a high camaraderie through the admission of the powerlessness of that identity or association. And it is very, very noticeable. Your concern is not therapy at all.
I don't get it. Anybody with more AA experience maybe might help to see the correlation. Have you ever heard the term good meetings where there is no therapy? Has anyone heard that term? No?
I'm just rereading. Just
I've heard the term bad meetings where,
okay.
Yeah, where people don't talk about, well, they go off on a tangent and don't really address their issues.
Yeah, Kathleen, you're reviewing.
Yeah, when you
go ahead.
Well, I think good meetings are when you come to a meeting and you can relate to what is being said in the meeting and being shared in the meeting, and helps you see, it helps the light bulb go off in your head that says, oh, so you don't need, I think therapy here is you don't need therapy, because you're coming here and because of the mutual sharing, you're getting what you need to get to do the next thing.
So is it a good meeting where there is no therapy, means there's no program that night? no speaker, no program, just people talking to each other?
No, nobody's trying to fix anybody else.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a mutual thing. It's not like a hierarchy of someone is telling you how you need to do. It's like it's kind of like through osmosis. It's like you're getting it because it's there.
So how does that relate in A Course in Miracles? Like near the top, it says, or how it works in A Course in Miracles groups.
Well, I think it relates to where we talk about the teacher is also the student.
Gotcha. Yeah. So we're teaching and learning from each other as opposed to a formal teacher.
There's a recognition when someone says something at a meeting, you can relate to it. It's the truth. It just strikes you as the truth in your gut.
And there's an authenticity to it. It's not coming from someone that's preparing for a talk for the evening or anything. It's just people that legitimately are going through the same experience. And you can tell the authenticity when you hear them relate their experience. Is that good, Joni?
Yes, that's good.
Kathleen, the rest of you, is that good? All right. Well, there's no punishment if we just keep going, right?
And that's what the last sentence is saying in that paragraph.
What?
It's what we had just said. The relief that you feel when you come into a group of this nature is not expressible, but those of you who have been to what we would term as a good meetings where there is no therapy, just a mutual recognition, can sense the feeling of the high camaraderie through the admission of the powerlessness of that identity or association. It is very noticeable.
And wasn't there something about the authority problem? It says unqualifyingly willing to accept that you have a very serious authority problem. So
the ego wants to be God.
Yeah.
Right. And in that good meeting, folks are sharing the unmanageability of that. And I'm going, me too. I'll move on. We're up to Kathleen.
Okay. I'll speak as a program member for a moment here. If you've got a beginner who is going to give you what we call a drunkalogue, he is determined to tell the story of the circumstances that indicated how completely powerless he was. Certainly these are necessary and important admissions, such as if you come into a course group and said, I just can't deal with this world, everything I do is futile. This is simply an admission of qualification for membership. Any counseling advice should not occur. The member has one problem and has been given the solution. In no regard would any recovering addict take the inventory of the other person. Do you understand? It is not going to I'm not going to take the inventory of that association. I have enough problems in my dedication to my own recovery.
Mm.
The therapy that I would offer him would only be based on my determination not to have had an experience myself, but rather to verify his resentments in association with himself, rather than admitting that we really only had one problem, and that problem is a drug. Is the drug itself.
Thank you. Comments? Somebody explain this to me. When he says program member, he means AA, right?
Yeah.
And you all know what he means by drunk-a-log? No
Yes, it's a
question.
person telling how awful it's been.
And this, I just can't deal with the world that is an admission of qualification for membership, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Uh, I wanted to ask you about this one problem. What's the one problem?
Yeah, one problem is the drug itself.
And what is the one problem? And what is the drug itself?
Mhm.
Let me read a little bit to you. I have enough problems in my dedication to my own recovery, and now I'll start here. The therapy that I would offer him would only be based on my determination not to have an experience myself, but rather to verify his resentments and association with himself, rather than admitting that we really only had one problem. And that problem is the drug itself. What is the problem that is the drug itself? I thought it was alcohol. I can't hear you, Dee.
I thought a while ago he was saying the authority problem that we each have.
I agree with you. That's
Yeah. Yeah.
that the problem for me is that I thought I was supposed to manage my life.
Mhm.
And certainly the world seems to teach us that. But manage your life for what? For what goal? For what end? What is my life for? I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. What's it for? What's my life for? Is it to go to as many football games as possible? Is it to watch as much porn as possible?
I think it changes over our life depending what stage we're in, whether how early on we recognize that we can't do that.
Well, I'm saying it doesn't change. My life is not my own. My life is an expression of a bigger life, a bigger purpose. My hands, my eyes, my feet are What are they for?
But it takes quite a while to wake up to that. That's why I'm saying it depends on where I am in life, if I've woken up to that realization yet.
Correct. And I grant all of you that. And yet it doesn't change the fact that your life is not for your purposes. It may take you a while to understand that you're here for something bigger than Jim. I'm an expression of something else. And it took me 100 years to figure that out. Okay, so we're on the same page, right, Dee?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, nevertheless, I did not make myself, and I managed my life for what? What's your life for?
To find out who I really am.
To express God.
But those are lofty and true. All you can say whatever. The point I'm making is I did not make myself, and my life is not my own. It's not, I'm not an individual. I'm part of a greater plan. Learn my part and play it, and then my life has all new meaning.
But that's why we come to, that's why, not why we, that's why I wind up in the programs that I'm in.
Sure. And it doesn't matter how you got there once you understand what it was all for. It takes different time for different people. And why is that okay too? That it takes different time for different people? Because there is no time. And what is it in that chapter? It says, and you'll get to the end of time and look behind you and show everybody what a long way you've come. And then you'll find that time is rolled up like a carpet behind you and is no more. So take your time. It's all part of meeting us where we are in level 2, where we think things work in a linear way. They don't. But I'll use your way as a loving way to show you this. Comments? We on the same page, Miss Newman?
Yeah, so we all come to the same place at the end, no matter if it's through drugs, no matter what addiction it's through.
Yes. And the realization is my life is not my own. I was given this for a purpose, to be used for something, and definitely to be used for something bigger than my little old puny ego self.
And that's the last thing the ego wants to hear.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I love you, buddy, but you just gonna have to make way for this because it is the truth.
Well, in this last sentence, the therapy I would offer him would only be based on my own determination not to have an experience myself. That's like in the course talking about, you know, we're going to project that I have a problem, but I'm projecting it onto someone else so I don't have to experience it. And that's basically what he's saying. And then it says, you know, and be based on my determination not to have an experience myself. but rather to verify his resentments in association with himself, rather than admitting that
Yeah.
we really only had one problem, you know, rather than accepting, you know, we are one, you know? So he's, you know, it's talking about, and that problem is the drug itself. That problem, the drug itself is the ego. That problem is our trying to, that is the key, is ego, it's in my brain, but I can't get it out.
Well, the whole thing is, to me, is what is the purpose of my life? Because life is neutral until you give it a purpose. Is money good or bad?
It's neutral.
Depends what you use it for.
Is the body good or bad? The body.
It
Depends what they use it for.
Yeah, it depends
Is
on the
the gun good or bad?
It's neutral.
Gun.
yeah.
The thing that gives anything meaning is, what is it for?
Hmm.
Haven't you heard that in the course?
Oh, yeah.
There's a part in the course, and I'm going to get off, we're going to quit here, where I think it's in lesson 25. It talks about people using the telephone. And it's a great invention. Is the telephone good or bad or neutral? I'm asking.
It's neutral, and then the Holy Spirit repurposes everything for us.
And it depends on what you're using that to communicate.
Yeah.
Is the internet good or bad?
It
Hello?
depends
Depends
on what you're using it for.
This is the point that I'm trying to make and relate to this discussion. My life is not my own. Get on the bus with what it's intended to be for. I am not an individual. Hello? But that's very difficult to offset millennia of teaching and the ego thought system that's based on separation. But the fundamental fact is, I am not separate. And so if I'm not separate, how do I have a self-concept? That's what I have to give up. And miracles start happening, right? Ron, how are we doing?
Very good.
All right. We're going a little long here. My apologies. And Sherilyn, I don't know if you're available, but we're going to start. You are?
You all the way.
All right. You
I
haven't
hear
you
noises behind me.
enjoying it, or you okay?
Pardon?
You're still awake, I see.
Oh, yes, yeah. Ken is experiencing a terrible cough, and he's here with me, and I didn't want you to have to listen to that.
I understand. By the way, give Ken our regards.
I will.
Hope he remembers me. We did meet the one time you
Yes.
came back to Michigan.
Yes.
So
Yes, we talked about that.
our regards, and hope he's feeling better.
Well, thank you. He's become impressed with what he hears when you talk.
Ah, that's good. I hope to see him again soon. All right.
Yeah, so, okay.
We finished all of page 16, didn't we? Yeah, the problem is that problem is the drug itself. So we're going to start on page 17, paragraph 1 next time.
All right.
If we just quickly read paragraph that paragraph 1, it kind of like ties into everything that we were talking about tonight. And-
With your indulgence, everyone, go ahead, Kathleen. Why
Okay.
don't you read it?
All program meetings and all Course in Miracles groups say that you have one problem. You may call it alcohol, you may call it ego. You can call it self-perception, you can call it determination to affront God. I am not concerned with what you call it. All of it is a limited self-identity or an addiction to the necessity of the assertion of your limited conscious mind. Does that make sense? So here we come together in the sensible purpose of undergoing the miracle or the experience of our dedication to the certainty that the problem is not solvable. Don't analyze, utilize.
Whoa.
Mm.
I think we're all still together, generally speaking, don't you? And that helps a lot.
Mhm.
Yes.
But I am intrigued to read more. I hope you are.
Yep.
We'll come together again next time. Page 17, paragraph 2 is where we'll start. And I thank you so much for being here and your kind attention on this journey of self-discovery.
Could we start at paragraph 1 next next week again? Because it's a good way to get into it, you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
To be honest with you, have you noticed we always start by back?
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
The back one.
That's helpful. It's always helpful.
All right. So listen, I've got page 17, paragraph 1,
Yep.
and I'll see you all next week. Thank you for
Okay.
staying
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
Thank you, Jim.
Have a good
Namaste.
week.
It was nice to see you, Ron.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice
Happy to
having
be
you.
here.
See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.